The infected blood inquiry's hearings held in Cardiff all this week have brought home the full impact of the scandal of how blood infected with HIV and hepatitis C was given to patients. Today was another day of harrowing testimony, as Richard Morgan now reports.
Patricia Lane was one of the first patients in the UK to receive a pioneering bone marrow treatment for leukemia. But 11 years later, doctors told her a blood transfusion she'd been given at the time was infected with hepatitis C. Her husband Tony told me about the effect the news had on her.
She kept saying, "Why me? Why me? After what I've been through, why me? I've beaten leukemia, now this." So it took a long time for me to get her anywhere near back to what I would say had been our quality of life.
Unfortunately, Patricia never regained that quality of life, eventually dying in 2015 after several years of poor health. Also giving evidence today off camera, Hugh Thomas, infected with hepatitis C following a blood transfusion in the 1970s. At the time, the local undertaker gave him little chance of survival.
He was looking me up and down. He said, "Oh, 5'7", 30 stone." He said, "Give me a card. When you need me, let me know." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, you're not looking well."
Today's evidence brings to an end 4 days of hearings in Cardiff. A succession of witnesses told the inquiry, some for the first time, about the devastating effect the contaminated blood scandal has had on them and their families.
Most people have stayed very much in the background because of the stigma attached to the viruses. So I hope that they'll feel a sense of empowerment, and I think that it's good for all the people who have died that actually everybody now is able to speak freely about what happened.
The inquiry, chaired by Sir Brian Langstaff, will next sit in October. For people like Tony, the quest to discover why their loved ones suffered needlessly continues.
And Richard's with me now. You've been covering this inquiry all week. Some really harrowing accounts of how this scandal has impacted on family life.
That's right, John. Not just because of the tragedy and the loss of what happened, but also because of the stigma. Far from being treated with compassion, victims were all too often abused, ostracised, in one case even physically assaulted when it came to light that they were suffering with this contaminated blood. Because of that stigma, some haven't said anything about this for more than 30 years. And this week there really was a palpable sense of the lid being lifted on that silence and people finally having the chance to express what this scandal has done to their lives.
Would it be fair to say that we still don't know exactly how many people have been affected by this?
We don't, unfortunately. One of the witnesses this week described how for many years she'd been a blood donor. She'd taken a lot of pride in donating her blood, but this was before she realised that she herself had been infected with hepatitis C. It's not a disease that carries obvious symptoms initially, so it may well be that there are many people out there who don't even know that they've got hepatitis C. Most of all, there's been a real sense of incredulity this week, not only that this was allowed to happen, but that so much information was withheld from patients. It's said that every 4 days someone dies as a result of the contaminated blood scandal. So the sad truth is there are many people out there who will never live to see anyone held accountable for what's happened.
OK, Richard, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much indeed.